Once upon a time, in the middle of a glowing forest, there lived a brave little rabbit. The trees were tall and full of talking animals who were all fast asleep. The rabbit was curious and wanted to explore this magical place, so he set out on an adventure into the dark woods. As he hopped along, he met a friendly owl perched on a branch. The owl had big eyes that glowed in the moonlight. "Hello, little one," said the wise old owl. "I've been watching you. Are you lost?" "No, I'm just exploring," replied the brave rabbit. "This forest is so magical," the owl nodded, and told him about the other animals he might meet. Then the owl flew off into the darkness to find his next adventure. The rabbit continued hopping through the forest, feeling a bit scared, but also very brave. He heard rustling in the bushes and saw a family of foxes. They were talking excitedly about the best places to find berries. The rabbit introduced himself, and they all laughed because they knew he was a good friend of the owl. They invited him to join them on their hunt for berries, and soon they were all running through the forest together, filling their bellies with sweet treats. As they sat under a big tree, eating their berries, the rabbit realized that friendship always shines the brightest in the dark. With a full tummy and a warm heart, the brave rabbit hopped back home to his cozy burrow. He snuggled deep into his soft blanket and thought about all the magical friends he had made in the glowing forest. And just like that, he fell fast asleep, dreaming of new adventures with his animal friends. As the rabbit slept, he dreamt of returning to the glowing forest. He could see himself hopping through the trees, surrounded by his new animal friends. They chattered and played together, laughing as they explored the magical land. The next morning, the rabbit woke up eager to go on another adventure. He hopped out of his burrow, stretched his little legs, and set off towards the forest. As he approached, he could see the trees glowing in the distance, beckoning him closer. With each step, his heart beat faster with excitement. Soon, he was back in the enchanted woodland, surrounded by the friendly animals he had met before. The foxes were still busy collecting berries, while the owl perched on a branch, watching over them all. The rabbit joined in their activities, helping to gather fruit and chat with his new friends. They taught him how to climb trees and find the sweetest berries. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the forest floor, they all gathered together under a big tree for a feast. They laughed and talked about their day's adventures, sharing stories of their encounters with other magical creatures. The rabbit felt so happy to be part of this special group of friends, and as he looked around at their glowing faces, he knew that no matter how dark it got outside the forest, inside they would always shine brightly together. The rabbit and his friends spent the rest of the night telling stories and playing games. They danced around the glowing trees, their laughter echoing through the forest. As the moon began to rise high in the sky, they all started to feel sleepy. One by one, they said goodnight and hopped off to their respective homes. The rabbit watched as his new friends disappeared into the darkness, feeling grateful for their company and the magic of the glowing forest. He hopped back towards his burrow, looking up at the stars twinkling above him. A sense of peace washed over him, and he knew that this would be a night he would never forget. As he snuggled into his warm blanket, the rabbit fell asleep with a smile on his face, dreaming of all the wonderful adventures that awaited him in the magical glowing forest. The next morning, the rabbit woke up feeling refreshed and eager to explore more of the forest. He hopped out of his burrow and looked around at the tall trees surrounding him. The forest seemed even more enchanting in the daylight. He couldn't wait to tell his new friends about all the amazing things he had seen during their adventures together. As he hopped towards the glowing trees, he felt a sense of anticipation building inside him. This was going to be another magical day in the forest. As the rabbit hopped towards the glowing trees, he noticed a small path leading off into the distance. Curiosity getting the better of him, he decided to follow it and see where it led. The path wound its way through the forest, passing by tall grasses and flowering bushes. Every so often, the rabbit would glance up at the stars shining brightly above him. He couldn't help but feel grateful for this magical place he had discovered. After a while, the rabbit came to a clearing in the forest. In the center of the clearing stood a towering oak tree, its branches stretching out like arms, welcoming him in. The rabbit approached cautiously, wondering what kind of creature might be living in such a grand tree house. As he got closer, he saw that there was no one home, but he could hear soft music coming from inside the tree. Curiosity once again taking over, he climbed up into the tree and found himself in a cozy little room filled with all sorts of interesting things. There were shelves lined with books about magical creatures, maps of the forest, and even a few paintings of animals he had never seen before. In one corner, there was a small desk with quill and parchment waiting for someone to write their next adventure story. The rabbit couldn't believe his luck. He spent hours exploring the tree house, reading books, and looking at the paintings. As he climbed back down the tree, he realized that it was starting to get dark again. But this time, he felt different. He had found a new friend in the glowing forest, and he couldn't wait to share his discovery with the rest of the animal community. The next morning, the rabbit woke up early and hurried off to find his friends. He hopped through the forest, calling out their names, until he finally spotted them gathering berries nearby. "Guys, you won't believe what I found yesterday," he exclaimed excitedly. And so, they all set off towards the towering oak tree, eager to see what the rabbit had discovered. As they approached, they could hear soft music wafting through the air. The rabbit led them into the cozy little room in the treehouse, filled with their gasps of amazement. They spent hours exploring the treehouse together, marveling at all its wonders. They read books and looked at paintings, dreaming up new adventures to have in the enchanted forest. And as they climbed back down the tree, they knew that this was just the beginning of many more magical discoveries to come.